It's time.
Bring on the hot.
All right, here we go.
Cocktail show.
Get ready to have a good time.
Let's have a good time.
This is exciting, isn't it?
Oh, I like that.
Hello, testing.
Welcome aboard the Dreamliner.
It's the only way to fly.
Wow.
I've allotted 1 hour for recreational activity. There's no time for irrelevant conversation. Fun will now commence.
Cocktail show.
Gary.
Here's a young speaker who is really in demand.
Don't let that go to your head, Gary. But wait, there's more.
That's what I'm talking about.
He is Gary Meier.
Snow.
3, 2, 1, 0.
When thunder roars, go indoors. GarrForce's Todd Pickering illustrates that for us right here. This has been a public service announcement for the GarrForce. More weather talk ahead with our special guest. But first, and sorry to the audio-only podcast listeners out there, I thought this would be the perfect time to show off some of my favorite indoor views of Central Florida's sometimes severe weather.
It's Todd Pickering welcoming you to the Garry Meier Show Cocktail Hour live.
Cocktails. Woo! Drinks.
We're streaming live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central.
On Friday, December 15th, 2023. Of course, no matter where you are, it's time for a digital mimosa.
The best way to watch this show is the GarrForce Live YouTube channel.
YouTube. Subscribe to the GarrForce Live YouTube channel.
More eyeballs. It's a good thing.
Please like and share the show on all the social media channels.
Comments during the live show, wherever we are streaming, can be seen in our virtual studio
We may show them on the screen.
and or talk about them.
And that's it.
Now, fasten your seatbelts. It's time to go wheels up on the GarrForce Live.
Live!
Here we go. The following may be disturbing on America's podcast. Boom. Shakalaka.
Finger guns. Wow, we got a good one for you tonight, and I think I can actually back that up finally, right? Okay, you saw who's coming up. I'm very excited about Tom and Rob and the drinking in between, and all that's going to happen in just a few minutes. But first, I've got to do a few things like kick the tires and light the fires. All right, and then Leslie's going to do 2 other sequences. The fourth one is holiday based. It's new to the program for the holidays. Leslie, hello.
Hello.
Listen, that sequence that we saw at the beginning there that Alan showed of his neighborhood, those lightning strikes, that's a Tom Skilling check scene right there, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what we do here, if you're new, she's going to release that condom and it's going to shoot across the room, or it could just lie on the side of the bottle. We've all seen all the different sequences of that.
But invariably, I can't even help myself. I make a ooh face.
Ooh.
So chances are there will be an ooh face coming up. But here we go. Ready? 3.
All right, 3, 2.
Ooh.
Over the shoulder.
Ooh.
I think it hit Angry Mama in the face, and she's going to be pissed.
Hey, asshole. Watch it. Hey,
Yeah.
where's the bobble-headed bitch that I like so much?
Okay. Hello, Mr. Letterman. Hello.
That's
Hello.
the one.
Hello.
Ooh,
Yeah.
cattail, frickin' cats.
Hey, I was thinking also when I watched Todd Pickering, I think David Muir is going to hire him. He's good, and Muir is looking at that and thinking, I could add that to the program and it would fit right in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That means only 22 minutes of stellar news that we don't necessarily need to know
Right.
about. So,
It starts off, everything's the worst it can be. When he starts the show, oh my God, run for your lives. And then he'll end up with stories like Chevy Chase going off the stage, walking off the stage, or some other nonsense. It goes from Hamas to Chevy Chase. It's really strange. Okay.
makes sense.
I am not going to hesitate any longer. And by the way, I've gone holiday Bailey's on the rocks.
Oh.
Yeah, in honor of what's going to come out of Pee Pee Santa.
Well, so PP Santa, Garry requested, and I tried to provide pure eggnog from PP Santa today, but he clogged. so
He clogged.
he clogged.
He
So I had
clogged.
to water it down just a little bit. But
Okay,
here's
here we
I'm
go.
using my Oh Yes glass. So
Yes.
here we go.
Oh,
everybody.
yes. Here we go. Peep, peep. Oh, yes.
Ooh,
Oh.
ooh. Yes. Thank you, Santa.
That did the payoff that I thought it would. I love that. Okay, we got drinks, we got appetizers, we're ready to go. Wheels are up. You're not done. Oh, he's not done.
Just a little bit more.
Top it off.
There we go. That's it.
Santa. Now that's the holidays right there.
It's
Watered down
delicious.
eggnog. Yes. Ooh. Ooh, Papa.
Yeah, that refreshes.
As
Get me
Scott
my
says
wine.
there in the comment section, Santa is, what is it? Christmas is coming and so is Santa. Yes. We're 10 days away. Look, he's spent. He's all spent now.
I'm gonna have to do some flushing so that
Okay.
Santa
With some wine.
is clean.
Yeah. How excited are you to say hello to our first guest? And I haven't been on a program with him in many years, and we did radio together for a number of years, and it was the highlight of my show, I think. And people loved it. And then the station looked at us and said, hey, you guys are real popular. We don't want that.
Right.
And they
You're
pulled the
having a
plug.
good time. Your listeners are too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not a good combination.
Leslie, let me bring Tom in because, okay, why would that be a standby? Okay, because around this time of year, Mr. Tom Skilling, the Walt Disney of weather, if you have lived in Chicago, you know this man's work. It's mesmerizing. And he is coming to us from our 50th state. Wait till you see the background.
For those of you,
There
from
he
public
is.
school, that's Hawaii.
Look at that.
By the way, that open was genuinely gross. To see
Thank you.
Santa there.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You know what, Garry?
we
I'll
do.
tell you. I remember, and I was telling Leslie this before we began. I remember the first day on the radio I worked with you was after one of those abominable weekends when there were all these shootings, and you said 79 shootings. We can do better than that. And I was horrified at the moment, but I came to realize that that's about the only way you can treat anything that horrible, and that's why, Garry, we miss you so much in this crazy day and age that we're in now, and your honest evaluation of what's going on in the world. But what do you think of this?
Well, thank you. Well, what do I think of it? It's blue sky. It's probably around 80 degrees. You're in Hawaii. I mean, come on.
You know what?
What can I
remember you and Steve doing live broadcasts, and little did I had never been to Hawaii at that point, but you did live broadcasts from out here.
Yeah.
I told the folks on this resort, the grounds of the resort, that we were doing a podcast, and they said, "Oh, that's exciting. I don't think we've ever done a podcast from here. We're on the Big Island, in the southern end of the Hawaiian chain. And boy, it's been blowing like crazy. We have whitecaps on there, and they're warning people to be careful swimming and all the rest."
Well, Tom, let me just say, that has to be the only place on earth that nobody's ever done a podcast. Because with 8 million podcasts, they're, my God, well, if they need somebody to be embedded on that island doing a podcast, you have them call me and I'll be over. Here's what I want to say. Around this time, when we were working together, we would be doing our Christmas show at the top of the John Hancock building, which is this beautiful building in Chicago, 100 stories. We'd be 94, 95 floors up. And it was a magnificent show. They really treated us so well. You came up there and did the weather, and we had such a good time. That was another moment. We brought listeners up. And when I get to this point in the year, I think, oh, God, boy, I missed that stuff.
It's true. Wasn't that fun? I'd almost forgotten about that. And it was all for a great cause, too, as I remember. You raised money, and the whole crew was there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was so much fun. And you would come up, and your colleague, Jim Ramsey, did the weather from there one day. And it was funny how I thought, okay, I like synergy. I like to cross promote the different pieces of a company's product.
Yeah.
And because we were owned by the same people, I thought, well, why not have your weather guy come and do the weather at the John Hancock building around Christmas? And it was jumping through hoops every time. They just couldn't quite. I mean, it wasn't technically that difficult. And now it's much easier. But we got it done, and I'll remember those days forever. And sadly, Jim passed away a couple of years ago. But what a great guy. Let's talk about him for just a minute, because he was such a player. Anything he wanted to do, he was willing to do.
You know what? Ramsey and I would talk about crazy goings on at the station, and we'd start laughing. And I mean, the laughs would go on for like 2 hours. And all I could think, I said to Jim, you know, anybody who walks by this office is going to presume we've been consuming adult beverages or something, because nobody laughs like that, just as a matter of course. But
yeah,
Jim,
he was that way on my show. When you would go on vacation, he'd fill in.
Yeah,
and we had as much fun as you and I did. Now, let me just say, everybody is really waiting for that moment when Tom leaves the TV station after many decades to think, oh my God, where's Tom? And that's coming up because you were and still are for a few more months, the Walt Disney of weather. When I would watch your weather forecast, I'd start Pink Floyd album, Dark Side of the Moon, and then about 2 minutes in, I was just in a trance. It was like an opium den. It's just visually, you really are the Walt Disney of weather. I mean, the stuff starts coming at you, and
you coined that phrase. And you know, I remember when you and Steve used to do Tommy Skillethead. When I first heard about that, I thought, oh, brother, there goes the career. You know, it's just, I figured it was all over. It turned out to be the best thing that ever happened, because you guys introduced me to a whole demographic who tuned in to see who this nut Tommy Skillethead really was. And it was something else. Do you know, Garry, I don't know whether I ever told you, I was downtown on Michigan Avenue in front of the Hancock building, and a cop came up to me and he said, hey, do you hear what those two do to you every afternoon on the radio? And he said, you want me to do something about that? I said, officer, please.
Do something.
They keep
you want me
doing
to
it.
shoot those guys? You want me to take care of them?
No, I said, please. Steve Sanders, one of my co-anchors for many years on the midday show, used to say, how do I get somebody to make fun of me on afternoon drive radio every day? It's the best damn advertisement that anybody could come up with. And
here's the analogy, Tom. It's like Taylor Swift dating an NFL player. A whole demographic that never watched football is watching football. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. You know, and I remember you and Steve would talk, and you were the first one. You said, you know, we make fun of him every day, but this guy really knows what he's talking about. And I remember thinking, you know, that was really nice. And then we did that show. You called me and said, would you appear? What was the theater? It was in Lincoln Park.
I think it was the Park West in Chicago.
Park West.
Right?
Yeah. And they said, here, you know, I got down there in the green room. I'd never met you guys in the flesh before. And, but you said, come on down if you would. And I said, I'd love to do it. I'd love to meet you. And so went down there. And the bit was that I was to walk out on stage after Steve, who had a pocket slide rule in there and all, and his weather maps, doing his Tommy Skillethead character. He was going to walk off stage and say, I got to get some maps. And I was to walk on. So I thought, okay. And so I walked on, and it's dead quiet. That theater was, you could heard a pin drop. And I thought, oh my God, I couldn't see the audience because you were up there on stage and you had floodlights coming down. I thought, my God, this thing is royally bombing. And,
oh, no.
And then,
are you
then
kidding
the voice
me?
comes out and says, it's the real Tommy Skillethead. And the place went crazy. And
yeah, really, Tom, you were such a great addition to all of our live shows that you attend. And I can't say enough about, I'm so glad we became along the way.
Isn't it the truth?
You are, to me, one of my dearest friends, and I really enjoyed every moment we spent on the radio. Now, I got to get to some weather, because you can tell us more than anybody. White Christmas matters. We're having a La Nina, El Nino, La Taco Bell or something. And outside of mountainous areas, is there any snow across the country? It's the middle of December.
Start getting it. But these El Nino, and this is a strong El Nino too. Do you remember that 65-degree Christmas we had back in '82?
Yes.
It was, people were walking on, down on Oak Street Beach in shorts. That was a strong El Nino winter. And that's what El Nino can do. It bathes the country in Pacific air and cuts down on the stay of Arctic air masses. So you tend to be warm, you tend to get less snow overall. Doesn't mean there won't be snowstorms or Arctic outbreaks, but it means there won't be as many as usual. And when all is said and done at the end of the season, it'll probably have wound up being kind of a warmer than normal, less snowy than a normal winter, which is
and
bad.
It's 10 days. We're 10 days away from Christmas, Tom. And as you told me and everybody else, you really can't predict accurately more than 7 days out, right?
On a day-to-day basis.
So what do you see? And just throw it out there for the next 10 days across the country. Anybody could have a white Christmas outside of mountainous areas.
In El Nino years, California, the Southwest, and the southern states, and up and down the East Coast get in trouble. I was interested in that video from Orlando that Alan, your producer, put up at the beginning. It's those kinds of storms. Now, that thing will barrel up the East Coast, and that will be not the only one like that we see this year. So, look at that. That's the beginning of a major nor'easter, and that thing's going to bomb out off the East Coast and deepen quickly, and there'll be wind and rain and well inland up in the higher elevation snow. That's an El Nino winter trait. On the other hand, we in the Midwest, the Northern Plains, Northern Rockies tend to be shy on snow and cold. Not that it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen as much. So it'll be interesting. They're watching, with the reservoirs full now after that wet winter in California last year. They're watching closely to see if they keep the moisture coming. They need it desperately out there, although not as much as they did before last winter, which turned stormy. And El Nino winters are normally kind of stormy out there.
So what are you saying as far as snow in the next 10 days? What are you seeing?
I haven't looked at the day-to-day charts, Gary.
That's right. You're not working. You shouldn't have to look at. Okay, let's talk about.
As a general proposition, the chances for big snows are lower than they normally are in the Midwest, Chicago. Yeah.
All right. Now, you are retiring February after how many years?
45 years at WGN. Over half a century doing this, Gary. I tell all the young people that go through our office or have over the years as interns, they are probably witnessing the most interesting era in meteorology, because what's happened in the last 50 years is just amazing, and it's going to keep happening. Artificial intelligence is going to come in on this and everything else. Computing speed is skyrocketing. They're going to put a computer in at Argonne Labs that will do 2 billion operations per second starting next year. This will be able to map the human circulatory system through which cancer cells spread. On current supercomputers, which are amazingly fast, they can model a mouse's circulatory system, but it takes 1 million days of supercomputer time to completely map it. On this new machine, they'll be able to do it in 1,000 days. This is like nothing we've ever seen before. So all kinds of modeling is going to improve. They're going to come up with cancer treatments. This is going to help in the development of fusion energy and stuff like that. So it's really...
Tom, you weren't going to retire in February initially. Your contract had several years to go, but you decided, what was the moment when you went, you know what, I think I'm done. I've got to start enjoying whatever life I have left. Well, imagine age is a part of it. You have to look at the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And you're going out a little earlier than you had planned.
Yeah.
What was the moment, and how did Hawaii? It looks like Hawaii is going to be your retirement home.
Well, it's Gary. You know what? I've got a little place up in Alaska. We've got a little place here, and I've got a place in Chicago. I'm not going away from Chicago, but I'll be able to spend more time out here. I've grown to love this. I bring my books out here and walk the beach and swim every day. And I'm learning about this island. In the island chain, it's an amazing place. So, Gary, I'm hoping to maintain working relationship with WGN and do special projects. I'll be able to report on things, I hope, that I don't have the time to do right now, doing day-to-day weather shows. And who knows, I may go on the speaking circuit if they'll have me. I've done talks with our congressional reps and, groups like the League of Women Voters on Climate Change for years. And I've appeared in front of a congressional committee on climate change. I'd like to talk some more about that. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there on this subject. So,
well, it's interesting, Tom, that Hawaii is where you landed because it almost killed you several years ago.
Yeah.
Tell that story of how you almost died.
Oh, Garry, I'll tell you, you and I have compared notes on our interactions with rip currents. I was up on Kauai, the northernmost island. They have a beautiful beach, stretches as far as the eye can see with these gorgeous Hawaiian cliffs. And the water was raging. I had no business in swimming. And on top of that, it was before my gastric bypass surgery. So I was morbidly obese. And I thought I was a teenager swimming in the waves because I always loved swimming in waves. Well, I realized I wasn't touching the ground, and your body goes into a panic mode and your breathing is all off. I literally, Garry, was 2 minutes from death. And my roommates were sitting on the beach and saw me and somehow went into this raging surf and pulled me out of the water. And it took me about 45 minutes just to get my breath back. And that was frightening. I mean,
that happens fast. And I had that happen in Mexico.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're drowning. And
yeah. You're there and it's like it's all going in slow motion. You think, for God's sake, for years I'd heard this happening to other people, and now I know it's happening to me. I'm gone in 2 minutes, and there's nothing I can do about it. You can't roar over the roar of the waves, scream for help. There was nobody on that beach except my two roommates. We were there all by ourselves. We had it all to ourselves. And, I mentioned that to you, Garry. We talked about that on the radio show. And you would see news clippings on well-known celebrities who got involved in near drowning. And like Anne Hathaway, I remember a couple weeks later, she got tangled up off Kauai in one of these rip currents. And we found out later that 25 people had died of drowning on Kauai, and that the state of Hawaii was going to put ocean safety films, or debating putting them on flights into the islands. They never did that, but I've seen posters stressing ocean safety. I'll tell you one thing, I'll never go into an ocean like that again.
Tom, stay by the pool. That's why God made pools.
Exactly.
Come on. Now, let's talk about your gastric bypass. How that came about, and you dropped how much weight?
Oh my God. I dropped 120 pounds. Garry, my father had a stroke, a terrible stroke. He was comatose for a year after that. He survived only 2 years beyond that. Never walked again, never ate. He was fed intravenously the last 2 years of his life. And I was on the same course. I was morbidly obese. My legs were swelling. I'd gone diabetic. So I was in trouble. And I worked with a trainer to try and get rid of the weight. My God, I could have been on a treadmill 24 hours a day and never lost what I lost after the surgery. So I went down to Northwestern, Dr. Hungness down there, and his team. And Garry, I'll tell you, it takes you do 6 months of training. You talk to psychologists. They want you to know your life's going to be different. Certain foods still to this day hit me hard, but I'm back to pretty normal eating. I can't eat anywhere near what I ate, but it's the best thing. I'm no longer diabetic. My cholesterol's normal. All the blood chemistries come back to normal. And so anybody contemplating it, do it. They've got different kinds. There's something called the sleeve, where they take out 75% of your stomach. I had what was called the Roux-en-Y version of it. And this is where they staple the top eighth of your stomach, divide your intestines, and by God.
Sign me up. I love to have my intestines stapled and tied up on a weekend. Hey, I got it. If I remember correctly, you had it done a minute before the pandemic, before the lockdown.
Yeah.
Had you waited another day, things would have been dramatically different.
Those elective surgeries, they went bye-bye. And so I was lucky. And I'll tell you, you come out of that, you feel initially like a train hit you. But I remember there was some guy in the recovery room screaming the F word one after, he was clearly having a bad rejoining of reality after his whatever medical procedure he'd gone through. And you forget when they give you that anesthetic, what you've just been through major surgery. But I'll tell you, they took good care of me, and the pain was minimal. And it's the best thing I can tell you I've ever done in my life. And my health has never been better. I feel great. I've had some vertigo issues, but other than that, for somebody approaching 72 years old, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, and I'm so excited that you're retiring. It really is something that I'm sure everybody will miss in Chicago, seeing you nightly on that weather forecast. But you deserve what you have on the background there and everything else you've accomplished to bring you to this.
Well, I'll tell you, Gary, I've been really lucky. There are horror stories in our business, as you well know.
Yeah.
Somehow I dodged all that. I'm not quite sure, because I went to work every day in my early years thinking I was going to be fired every day. So to reach this age now and not to have been fired is something of a miracle to me. But we've had some wonderful GMs over at WGN-TV, and they've been really great, and as have all of my colleagues there. It's been a great experience, and I just miss working with you on radio.
Yeah, I do too, Tom. And I keep in touch with your assistant, Bill Snyder.
Yeah,
we have a lot of laughs about different things, and and then he keeps me posted on you if I can't get a hold of you.
Yeah.
So what time is it there now? You're to Eastern time. What time? How far back are you?
We are 5 hours different behind Chicago.
Okay.
So in other words, and it'd be 6 hours from the East Coast. And so it's quite a change. It really is. I get up in the morning. I usually wake up around 4 o'clock Hawaii time, and I turn on the TV and watch the morning news and all. And it's 3 hours before the sun comes up. But it takes your body a while to adjust to it. It's pretty interesting. But it's a great flight. They have a direct flight from Chicago out here to Kona on the Big Island every Saturday.
Tom, I'm going to correct you. That's a nonstop flight. A direct flight is not nonstop. Do you know that?
Oh, all right.
If you say to the ticket agent, I want a direct flight, she'll go, okay. And then you're going to stop, possibly. It goes in that direction. You got to say nonstop, because that's different.
Oh.
Yeah.
See that? All these years I've been flying, and it takes you, Garry Meier, to tell me. So thanks for the correction. I didn't realize that.
Glad to help, Tom.
It's great.
Hey, listen, Merry Christmas.
You too. Tell Cindy I said hi. I don't know whether folks realize it, Garry. Your wife, Cindy, and I were born, and you always say things happen in life that tell us it
Alan, is he frozen, or is it just me?
I think Tom is frozen mid-sentence.
Wow, that's funny.
That's not coming back.
No. Okay. Tom and my wife were born in the same hospital. And it's nowhere near Chicago. That's the funny part. It's just a weird little winky dink. Tom Skilling, how about him? And he is the Walt Disney of weather.
This is like that moment in a dream where you are understanding.
Harry is on the phone. I'll be back.
That's Tom.
Where somehow you've got all the answers to all the questions in the universe, and then you wake up at just that moment. Whatever he was going to impart there, was going to be stellar. And now,
it was that they were born in the same hospital. I mean,
on top of that.
I mean, all the hospitals of all the gin joints.
Of all the gin joints and all By the way, who else is thinking Melikaliki Maka is the thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day?
And that was the song we on the T show today. If you listen to that, you know that. And I like that song a lot. I think it fits so well in Christmas Vacation, and it's a good one by the Bingster.
Well, and we were watching the palm tree sway behind him, so that was kind
of nice. You think?
I want to be there. We were explaining to Tom that we would be willing to help him in any way possible while he is stationed out there in Hawaii.
Right.
Garry, did you volunteer to clean the pool? Is that what I heard?
Yes, I said, pool boy, any of those things. You just sit by the pool and I'll take care of all the other stuff. And he was agreeable. And you said you'd be a maid. And he said,
I worked briefly as a housekeeper cleaner at one point in my life. Yeah, I don't
Tom's-
mind
Tom's
scrubbing
coming
a
back.
toilet or two. Oh,
Is he
yeah.
back?
Not yet, but he's coming back.
Okay. All right. And then
We
we're going
got
to
time.
talk to Rob. Yeah. Well, hey, got nothing but time. So, yeah, that was good because, again, it had been many years since we had done radio together. Well,
and like you said, in most other businesses, people get let go because they're not doing the work.
I got him. Let me add him
or
back
there
in. Here he
aren't
is.
great
pop him back
results.
on.
I'm
Tom,
sorry.
he froze up there.
Do you know what happened, Gary? I
Tom,
had the.
I don't.
Tom, turn your camera sideways.
Oh, sideways like this.
No.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
there.
like that. No,
Okay.
no, you were
Like
right.
this? Let's see.
Oh,
Yes,
no,
there you go. Perfect.
There.
All right, now I'll get my hand out of the way.
Perfect.
You know what happened, guys? I had the iPad sitting in the sun, and the message comes up. It's overheated. So sorry about that. So I'm on my phone now.
That's a Hawaiian problem.
Yeah. I'm
Nice.
sorry about that.
That's
guys.
funny.
I'll tell
That's
you.
funny. No, Tom, you were going to say, and I filled in the blanks there, that you and my wife were born at the same hospital.
Yeah, McGee Hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And when I told you that, when we discovered that, Garry, you said, see that? Here's yet another example of what I've always contended, and that is that things were meant to happen and that they've been laid out ahead of time somehow in the whole scheme of things. So, yeah. Hey, by the way, you know, we got it like this. Can I show you what? Can you see what
Oh my God. That's
this is
beautiful.
Isn't that something? Do you see that Mauna Loa, the volcano off in the distance there?
Yeah.
That's the volcano where they measure carbon dioxide. They've got instrumentation up there. It's the longest running record of carbon dioxide levels on the planet. It was put there by a guy named Charles Keeling, who was a Northwestern University of Illinois alum, who developed equipment that would measure carbon dioxide. It's up at 11,200 feet on that 13,000 foot volcano. So when you hear that carbon dioxide is at a new level, and it's higher now than it has been any time in the last 3 million years, that's where they measure it, up there. One of the places. Now they measure it a bunch of places, but he did that back in the 1950s, and that's kind of interesting. Right out here.
When we did our show from the Big Island, there was snow on top. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, in fact, when you, one year when I was renting the car at the airport, they said they had a mimeograph sheet they set out with it, and they said, you're not allowed to drive up into the snow because these mountain roads are something. There's a little town 15 miles from where I am. I'm down at sea level. It's at 2,500 feet, and you go up there and it's like 20 degrees cooler. It's really amazing. Nobody needs air conditioning up there in a little town called Waimea. Pretty little town. And you know what else they've got out here? They've got these ranches. Hawaiian cowboys roam this area. The most beautiful ranches that stretch as far as the eye can see. And I remember as a kid, I used to look at these little dots on maps, the Hawaiian Islands, and I thought, boy, they must be crowded, not realizing that how much terrain there really is out there.
Tom, forget weather. You should be the Hawaiian spokesperson. I mean, you don't need to go and do anything besides that. I mean, you're selling it, brother.
You know what, Garry? I was out here for the Kilauea volcano in 2018. I got up at 1:30 in the morning, drove over to a boat out of Hilo, and you went an hour boat ride, and you could see the sky glowing orange the whole way from all the lava. And the lava went into the ocean. And the captain of the boat said, now, look, we're going out in 14-foot seas, so most of you are going to get sick, but don't worry about it. The crew will, too. And we did. We got sick, but it was the kind of thing where they were passing buckets around for everybody. There was a German family on one side of me and an Australian family on the other side, and you didn't care. You were watching this 2,000-degree lava going into the ocean and this big thunderhead forming over all this heat being released by the lava stream. It was amazing.
I don't think it would matter if you puked in the lava. It would just blend.
Oh, it would. Yeah. You'd fry it. Well, it was interesting, too. When the waves would break over the bow, it was like bathtub warm water coming at you. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, of 3,000 degrees.
Yeah.
So was that as exciting as watching the total eclipse? Because I think a lot of people in Chicago were right with you in your emotional response to that.
You know, Leslie, I was so embarrassed. You know, you watched night go to day in 5 minutes. It was almost like a religious experience. And I thought, I'm on live television and I'm losing it. And I broke down, and other people around me did too. It's hard to describe how your body processes something as to go from midday sunlight to a black sky with stars in it in 5 minutes is the most amazing thing you'll ever
Well, Tom,
see.
that really defines how much of a speck we are. When you go out at night and just look up in the sky and see the universe, we don't matter. And we lose sight of that.
Garry.
I mean, and we go into these weird entanglements with each other and countries and this and that. And what are we doing? We're nothing.
Isn't it the truth? You know what we ought to do? We ought to get all warring armies, put them on a bunch of spaceships and just launch them to see our planet from on top. And
there
say,
you go.
Look, guys, look at this, and then look out into the darkness of, space, and tell me that what you're fighting about really matters worth a hell of beans,
There it is.
You're so true. You're so right.
All right.
Garry.
And let's
Tom,
not forget
I
when
will
Tom
be
was
in
chased.
touch.
Wait. Before Tom goes, I want to hear him talk about being chased by that tornado.
Oh,
That to me was one of the best sound bites of Tom's in all the years I lived in Chicago.
boy, it's interesting. Do you know, I didn't want to do that. We had videographer Steve Schur and my producer Pam Grimes had said, you got to go on a storm chase. And I had done that before. I said, look, the world has 3 storm chases a night on the Weather Channel and the Discovery Channel. The last thing it needs is another storm chase. And they said, yeah, but you haven't done it. I said, nobody gives a darn. You know what? So I go out there and we pulled over to watch this dying tornado and hit the road again, not realizing the big event was to spin up and chase us down the highway at 60 miles an hour. And we were losing ground to it. This was a multiple vortex tornado. And we had a Chicago Tribune photographer in the front seat, Zbigniew Bizdat. And he's there with his, 3-foot long lenses and all leaning out the window.
Man.
And he quietly says, I think we've got one chasing us. So we had so much equipment in the car, I couldn't see out the window. So I rolled down the window, looked out, and my God, here comes this Disney World-like multiple vortex tornado bearing down on us. I'm looking at our $2 million satellite truck and my colleagues in it, 4 cars behind us, thinking I'm going to see them go airborne at any moment. And we're lucky we survived that thing. I'll tell you, that was.
And didn't the tornado
amazing.
say, pull over, motherfucker, because you've reported your last EF5. That's it.
You know what, Garry? We pulled over in this little town. It was in northeast Oklahoma, and the sirens were all blowing just to kind of catch our breath after this thing went out into a field and was wrapped in rain and disappeared from sight. But then we hit the road again, and we went onto the Kansas Turnpike. We were going back to Wichita, and all these semis were flipped on the side of the road on top of cars. I'm sure there were dead people in these cars and these trucks. And we kept going because we knew we were not equipped to help anybody.
That's right. And that's the best thing to do is not help. Tom, I got to say, think about I don't know if it's irony or the bizarreness of if that tornado caught up with you and you died in a tornado. Think about how weird.
I know.
Talk about weirdness.
You know what? I'll tell you, I worked with a guy who was head of the Chicago Weather Service. He came over and was part of our team when we were putting the Tribune page together. Paul Daly. Paul is the guy who, after the heat wave killed all those people in 1995 in Chicago, worked with the health commissioner, John Wilhelm, to come up with what to do when heat's approaching. And now we open cooling centers and make sure the elderly are looked on. We didn't do that back in those days, and 700 people died. But Paul jogged, and he lived out in the Fox Valley, and he said, every time I go out and a thunderstorm comes up, I think, please, God, don't let me get struck by lightning, because can you imagine the story that the head of the Weather Service was killed jogging in a thunderstorm?
Yes. And you almost got there.
It was kind of the same thing, Garry. Yeah. Well, when Sean, my roommate, fished me out of the water, I told him, let me go. You're going to get dragged into this rip current. And you know what he said to me afterwards? He said, now, look, don't get all teary-eyed about this or think I saved you because I loved you. He said, I didn't want to be the one to go back to Chicago and say, hey, I sat on a beach and watched this Tom Skilling drowned out there.
Okay.
And I said, I said, well, thanks, Sean. That's
think
really
I
nice.
love you or anything. I just didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to deal with the paperwork.
On the backlash.
I told him, I said,
Yeah.
you know, Sean, nobody's going to blame you. They're going to say, what did that stupid idiot do going into, 14-foot seas like he was
I
a
wish I
teenager?
had a picture of you sticking your face out the window and yelling at the tornado. That's a moment. Now, what's that guy's name again that was in the caravan? Yoshi Marikumari Tui? What was his name?
No, you're talking about Ted Fujita.
No, you mentioned a guy who's had a camera or something. And
Zbigniew. Yeah, Zbigniew Brizdad. Zbigniew is.
Now you're just making names up.
No, he's a veteran.
There he goes. Frozen again. All right.
His phone probably overheated now.
Yeah, really
exactly.
Meli Kalika Maka. All right. Oh God.
Lord.
He's amazing. Really.
And that's the thing, sometimes you watch David Muir and you get the feeling that maybe he's not 100% genuine. We may be right, we may be wrong, but when you talk to Tom, know for a fact you're dealing 100% with a genuine individual.
That's it. You're 100%, Tom.
Now, wait till you hear this.
Oh, geez.
First, my computer overheated, and then my cell phone, that same stupid message came up that said your computer's overheated. So forgive me, I lost it again. And now we'll see how long this one lasts.
Well, Tom, listen, I appreciate the time, and I'll be in touch. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too. And Leslie, thank you for your sweet words. Working with you guys has been just great. I hope we do this again.
We will. Please. And I hope you have the greatest retirement because you deserve it.
Thanks, Gary. Right back at you on Merry Christmas to all of you guys and happy holidays and to everybody watching. Thanks.
Right. Thanks, Tom.
Leslie. See you guys.
Bye,
the Walt
Tom.
Disney of weather right there, ladies and gentlemen.
you nailed it with that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well, before our next guest comes up, and
we're going to set the table for the prizes.
Pay homage to our sponsors as well. But hey, last week's winner did not contact us, or something got lost in the shuffle. So I think it was like Banana Man, one of our more regular viewers. Please let us know, because I've got your gift waiting for you right here. In the meantime, this week, we got a good one for you today. Of course, it starts with a backpack from our friends at Buddy Bear Car Wash, the people who make music.
Yes, they sponsor all the music heard on the GarrForce.
And there is, of course, let's see here. Our friends at Oh Yes have given us koozies and bracelets. That's included here. I've got a pile of poo, and I don't know whether that came from Stick Save or Scott from Scott's Vintage Antiques and Collectibles, but pile of poo, it's always a fun joke at the holidays. Go ahead.
Put it under the tree.
Oh, they're going to love it. Our special GarrForce magnets, courtesy of our own Alan Delinka. Very special. We've got ball lickers from Tracy from Wisconsin. We got bendables from Tracy.
You want it? We got them.
This weird copy of 1984, George Orwell's 1984, given to us by Turtle Bean. But what's really weird, look at it's the way it's formatted. Almost looks like something out of a fever dream too. Isn't that bizarre?
Can the print be any smaller?
Well, these days every print seems small. But anyway, and finally, the prize that started it all. So Tom embraced it, and I think we should go with it, and that's hashtag Skillet Head.
Okay.
That's
what started it.
What started as perhaps, a little bit of good-natured mockery turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to him, he said. So that's kind of cool.
He's Tom freaking Skilling. Okay.
And we should talk about, there was a bit that they did for the Channel 9 in Chicago morning news show. And somebody was driving into the WGN parking lot, and they had blocked it off. And Tommy pulls up and he says, "Open the effing gate," like, because we've never heard Tom swear. And it's, "Open the effing gate. I'm Tommy fucking Skilling." And the place went nuts.
Yeah. Oh, I just remember this story. They had a cafeteria at the TV station, and Bozo had a show there. And Tom was in the cafeteria one day, and all these kids came into the cafeteria before the taping, and they're all yelling and screaming. And Tom had it. And I love this side of Tom, Dark Tom. And Tom turns to the kids and goes, "Bozo's dead, goddammit." And yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
ouch.
And that moment is, that's what you like about Tom.
And this Bozo, by the way, is the inspiration for Krusty the Clown for all of you folks
Right.
out there. This is
Right.
also
All right. I'm gonna have to notify the affiliates. We're gonna run late. I can see it right now because we're gonna take care of some business. And we got Ryan, and I want to talk to Rob right after we take care of business, starting with Bettenhausen Automotive.
Get 15% off MSRP plus no payments for 90 days on your new 2024 Jeep Gladiator Sport at Bettenhausen Jeep in Tinley Park. Get 10% off MSRP plus no payments for 90 days on your new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee during the Wrap Up the Year sales event. Right now, lease a new Jeep Grand Cherokee for $369 per month. Your best Jeep buying experience starts now. Showroom never closes at BettenhausenCDJR.com.
And they can get our big red bow if you want to give it as a gift and put it on the car. I like that. Beautiful cars. And David Hochberg, he's the man for your mortgage, refi, anything that has to do with that. And he does free consultations. If you call that number there, free consultation, how can you lose? And then hopefully, after he tells you how he can save you money, you'll do business with Team Hochberg. All right. Thank you, David, for all your support over the years. All right. Rob Ryan Sullivan is my next guest. Rob, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, Gary.
Oh, I'm glad to do it because I read your book, A Trek Within, and a lot of interesting things came out in that book. And as you pointed out, now you get into a lot of how you've navigated through life, through different hardships. But then you say at the beginning, this is not a self-help book. You're not trying to preach, do this, do that, and this will work for you. If you find some of the things you talk about to be beneficial, great, but that's not your purpose in writing this book, right?
That's it exactly. Yeah, that there are things that it's a lot of things that I was not raised to believe, but that I've come to accept. And if it helps enrich somebody else's life, great. But it's not, there's no new religion on the horizon.
I want to start with this. 2015, your 48th birthday, and you are diagnosed with malignant tumors. Yeah. And how does that set you off on a different path? Obviously, when you get that kind of news, it changes everything. Prior to those moments, your first 48 years going along okay, the regular stuff everybody goes through?
Yeah, everything. It was mostly the regular stuff. I mean, there was, some experiences with alternative medicine and getting cured of narcolepsy by a hands-on healer, which was pretty cool, given that my dad was a doc at Northwestern, so I'm not exactly a poster child for alternative medicine. But yeah, the 48th birthday, that was eye-opening because I was never expecting. I mean, when I went in for the scan that morning, I went in at 6:30 because I'm like, it's my birthday. I want to have the day to hang out and, have fun and do whatever. I wasn't expecting to get news like that.
And you get the diagnosis. Where does your head go at that moment?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say, up until that point, there had been, birthdays were not something that I really look forward to. I mean, as a kid, it was great. Your mom sends you to school with cupcakes, but after a while, they became a yearly reminder that I wasn't necessarily where I thought I should be in life. And then I'd get the letters from the insurance company saying, "Hey, happy birthday. Your rates just went up." So there were a lot of things that were not really great about birthdays. But then literally in that moment, I realized what a gift it was, because not to sound too dramatic, but I sat there and wondered, am I going to see my next birthday? But then, it was interesting because there was a lot of fear at the beginning. I'm not going to pretend there wasn't, but there was an almost immediate shift over the next few days to a place of peace where I just felt like this happened for a reason. I got to figure it out, and I need to walk through it. I'm not going to fight it. I just need to deal with it.
You made the disease your, dare I say, companion. You worked with it, and that helped you heal.
Absolutely. Because I thought to myself, I just never, things like fighting cancer and kicking cancer's ass, it just never really resonated with me. And my belief right from the start, and I don't know exactly where it came from, but I just had this sense that, these tumors came to give me a gift, and I need to figure out what that gift is. And I need to walk through, and you just accept the gift, learn the lesson, whatever it is, and move on. And that's literally what happened. It's going to sound weird, but that was like when I went through chemo, that period was probably the happiest time of my life, which is an odd thing to say because I spent literally, on and off 4 months, every other couple of weeks in the hospital. It was like 545 hours of inpatient chemo, but it was really a magical, really genuinely funny time. I mean, there were some hilarious moments, and it was just being open to a lot of that changed. People were really surprised, and I surprised myself with my attitude toward it. But everything, when I look back, I realized that everything that had happened up to that point had actually prepared me for it in a really weird way that I couldn't have known in advance.
You say in the book, Rob, that the universe is a friendly place. And I think a lot of people go, wow, I don't know how he can extract that out of what's going on the planet. And how did you come to that conclusion?
Well, it was interesting because it's at least it was a quote attributed to Einstein. He said, one of the most important lessons or determinations you can make is the universe a friendly place? And I realized that I'd spent a lot of my life thinking that it wasn't. I would be riding my bike, up Grand Avenue on the way to the gym and expecting car doors to open in front of me and expecting people to cut me off. And I realized that a lot of those expectations was creating this enormous amount of negative energy. And that, when I shifted that and I expected to see something different, that was when I actually began to see things different.
And the synchronicities that you talk about in the book and dream interpretations, all that stuff that some people might push away. As we talked about before we went on the show, I really believe in these synchronicities, and I call them vortexes.
Yeah.
Seemingly random things that intersect. And I'm thinking, how did that happen? Now, some people go, well, there's nothing to it. It's all just the way it should be, and don't look into it. But you've really analyzed these things, dreams and synchronicities, and you've consulted psychics too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because, it's more than you can write off to chance. As an example, and this is not like a life-saving sort of thing, but a number of years ago, I had an issue with my hand where my fingers were numb periodically. And I went to the neurologist and did all the usual things. And everybody's like, oh, it's your neck, blah, blah. And there's a woman I know, her name's Nadia. She's an amazing psychic. I mean, she's gifted. She's not one of these neon sign, oh, you're going to meet somebody special on a day that ends in Y type people. It's, she's the real deal. And I asked her, I said, what's going on with that? And she said, well, I'm not supposed to give you medical information. I said, okay, fair enough. I get that. I said, I'm going to go to doctors and everything. Is there anything I should know? And she said, well, yeah. She said, it's not your neck, it's your shoulder blade. So fast forward. Now I shared that information, and here's my mistake. I shared the information with the neurologist. I shared it with the osteopath or chiropractor or whatever that I went to. I shared it with my physical therapist, who was actually very open to psychics and intuitives and stuff. They all wrote it off because I had, when they heard the source of the information, they're like, oh yeah, whatever. And okay, fast forward 9 months, insurance is running out. We're not making the progress on the treatment that we thought. Another PT looks at me and she said, I have to do an evaluation. So she starts doing it. And then she starts rubbing my shoulder right here. And she said, what do you get when I do that? I said, oh, I've got a knot there. I've always had it. She said, it's not a knot, it's a bone. I said, I didn't think there was a bone there. She said, there isn't supposed to be. It's your shoulder blade. My shoulder blade was out of place, significantly, about that much. And so, when you're talking about a half an inch or 3/8 of an inch out of place, yeah, that's going to cause some problems with the nerves around it. And that information came from a psychic.
Wow. What about dream interpretation, Rob? How has that come about in your life?
Well, it's interesting. I've always paid attention to dreams. I had a dream early on that I needed to write a couple of books, which I laughed off when I had it. But the biggest dream one that just literally happened 4 years ago. It was December 30th, and I had a dream that saved my life, literally. So I woke up in the dream. I was standing on an ocean, and it was a very, rough seas. And I'm standing next to a lifeguard, and it was clear there had been a storm, and it felt like there might be another one. And this lifeguard in the dream communicates telepathically to me. He said, "Don't be thrown by the calm. It's going to get worse before it gets better." So he turns around, starts running, and I'm thinking, okay, if he's running, I'm running. So I start running as fast as I can. By the time I pretty much caught up to him, there was a wall to my left. It was about 50 feet high with those big cinder block things all stacked up. And at the time I got to the wall, this huge wave crashes into the wall. The wall blocks about 90% of the water, but about 10% got through, and you could see like the seaweed and stuff coming on the other side. And I woke up and I was like, wow, that was an incredible dream. So I go to the gym. I'm at the gym. When I leave, my shoulder blade was bugging me, or my collarbone rather was bugging me a little bit. And I just started massaging. I thought, okay, I wonder what that's all about. But you get muscle cramps all the time, so I didn't think about it. I went to the orthopedic surgeon to get an injection in my ankle, and I asked him a question. I said, why, if my ankle is bone on bone, is the pain, 4 inches up my leg instead of in my ankle? And he goes, oh, that's referral pain, like if you were having a heart attack. My next stop was the endodontist because my dentist wanted me to get a 360 x-ray because he thought a tooth had been chipped. He asked me, he said, are you having pain in that tooth that was up on the top? And I said, no, but I said, the one below it, I get pain in. He said, oh, that's referral pain. And I'm thinking, why am I hearing about referral pain twice in one day? I knew what it was. It's where you get pain in an area where you wouldn't expect it, based on where the actual injury or trauma is. But I couldn't figure out why I was having it. Go home, fast forward, client meeting. This had calmed down. And then I was walking up Grand Avenue to go get shrimp tacos, and this came back. And immediately I remembered the dream. And I would not have paid any attention to this because my ankle has hurt more on any given day than this ever did. But it came back, and I remembered the dream, and I literally stopped on Grand and Ogden. And it's going to sound dramatic, but I looked up and I quietly said, checking with my intuition, I said, do I need to get this looked at, or can I go get shrimp tacos? Which is sort of an odd question to pose, but that was the one. And the answer came back immediately. You need to get it looked at. So I go over, call for an Uber, go to the urgent care that's over on, I think it was Lake Avenue. They hooked me up immediately. They're like, your heart is not getting enough oxygen. You need to go to the emergency room right now. And they sent me there. And when I got there, they said the artery on the left wall of my heart was 90% blocked, which is exactly the dream. It was the left, the wall was to my left, and it was blocking 90% of the wave that was crashing into it. And literally, had it not been for that dream, I would have ignored this because this was nothing. It wasn't, the crushing pain that people talk about. It was a minor inconvenience, but it scared me because of the dream. And I'm here because of that.
Yeah. I talked about this coincidence, whatever you call it, on last Friday's show. You mentioned this author, Asa Baber, who was a writer for Playboy magazine, and it drew up this memory of an article he wrote in the magazine. And I told the story last Friday. I'm not going to repeat it now, but you mentioned this guy in the first several pages of your book, and I'm like, wow, okay. And then there were several other things that came through that I had connections with. And I had not met you before a few months ago. It wasn't like we had hung out and all this, and we would know the same people. So right there, I thought, okay, something going on here. And I liked telling that story last week about Jackie Cooper and his father and that kind of stuff. Like you said, it's not random, right?
Exactly. And, the reference in the book was, with that one was, I had a dream that Ace had been in the hospital, and I didn't know that he was dying of ALS at the time, or I would have taken I wish I'd been a little bit more alert at that point because.
And tell us how you know Asa for that reference.
Yeah. So Asa had actually seen me interviewed on TV because I have another book out called Getting Your Foot in the Door When You Don't Have a Leg to Stand On. It was a job search book that McGraw-Hill put out a number of years ago. He saw me on the Stock Market Observer, Channel 26 here in Chicago, and he called me up and he said, I want to meet you. And he took me to lunch at with Sayat Nova, and we met. And I just really loved, he's such a charming guy. I really liked him, and he was really instrumental. He was one of those people that sometimes you meet people and they change the trajectory of your life. Asa was one of those people, because we sat there at lunch, and I was in the process of getting that book, published at the time. And I asked him, I said, you're a writer. I said, what agent would you recommend I look for? And I'll never forget, he looked at me and he said, you need to call Jane Jordan Brown. But he said, if you do, he goes, do me a favor. If you do, don't mention my name. If she knows me, she doesn't like me. But he said she is the best at what she does. And a couple of weeks later, she became my agent.
Wow. Yeah. All these great stories are in the book, A Trek Within, and we're just touching the surface. And if you are interested in anything we've talked about and more, it's in this book. And Rob, it was a pleasure to meet you and to read the book. So,
thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show. Nice to.
Hey,
yeah.
Hey, thank you, and have a great holiday.
You too, sir.
All right, Rob Ryan Sullivan. That, like I said, there is a lot of other stuff in there that you'll find very interesting. If you track like that, like I do, and I think you do too, Leslie.
Super interesting, but Garry, we have to break for news, traffic, and weather. I'm sorry.
The tone, I heard the tone. Yes, you just okay. Alan, what is that?
That's so cool.
That's one of Tom's hand-drawn weather maps for when he was doing the Tribune weather page that Marcus Leshock gave me when I visited WGN back in October.
Wow. Okay.
And
that's
Tom
when he used to do them by hand. Yeah.
That he has made thousands and thousands of these, and has handed them out to people, and has never kept like an actual stock of them for himself.
And Marcus had told me he would hand draw them and then hand them off to the graphics people at the Tribune to prepare them for the paper.
Hey, there's a suggestion by Patty, and is Rob still there?
Yeah, he is. Hang on.
Hey, Rob, would you mind if in our prize giveaway we gave away your book too?
I would be honored.
Okay. Great.
I'll sign it and send it out to whomever you'd like.
Great. Thank you. That's a great idea, Patty. Thank you. And we're going to give away some stuff here, but we're backed up. We still have to do some Wisconsining with Ryan. How you doing, Ryan?
Hey, I'm doing okay. It's 50 and sunny today, so
he's gone black. And once you've gone black, how you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm okay.
Signal's working here. Can you see him okay, Garry?
Yes, the screen was black for a minute. You know what? We didn't put Kellyanne's post up, which is traditional on the show. Can you still find it, Alan, and put it up? That's usually the first one that we put up.
There's actually two Kellyanne this week.
Okay, can we put them up? I was going to sit on Santa's lap until I saw what looked like crusty eggnog stains around his crotch. Okay, there is one. And Tom freaking Skilling, my older friend, turned me on to him and the rest of you while I was helping with his rehab. Well, that was a nice moment. See, somebody's going through rehab. Kellyanne helped, and now we're all part of this, whatever this is.
There we go.
Speaking of eggnog, here we go.
Santa's not done yet.
There we go.
I'll drink to that.
Santa. And he never dribbles. It's really kind of cool. The shut off on this
now
is
you're just
amazing.
Making it nasty, Leslie. It was a beautiful thing, and now it's just nasty.
Okay.
Ryan, what do you got? What's going on with you?
Nothing. It's been, I don't think we're going to get a white Christmas. Hank has a bowling party this weekend, and leading to his birthday on the 21st, the winter solstice. Right. So that's about.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that, Ryan, because next Friday, Timmy Shawn will be on. He deconstructed the Beatles' latest song and put it together in his vision, and it's marvelous. He's a really interesting guy. Oh Yes is going to do a Christmas song, and we're celebrating lengthening daylight. We're a week away. There it is, an Oh Yes glass, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I do have pictures. I don't know if we want to do a few of those. You had sent me a few.
Okay. Baby Jesus is doing a little workout there. He's going to have some sick abs. Yeah, crunches. Are those
okay?
crunches?
We can afford a lamb, but not a manger.
Right.
Lamb, leave the manger.
Is that a crunch? Is that what that's called?
Yep.
Yep. That's exactly
doing
what that
some
is.
crunches. Yeah. Baby J. All right. And here's a cool snowman. Not that you could make one right now anywhere. To keep your neighbors out of your yard, your neighbor kids. Yeah.
We may have to bring Dieter Sturm on to make some snow for
this is a
us.
perfect year to do a promotion where Dieter blows snow in somebody's yard. Yeah. Joey Snow. Upside down, Mr. Potato Head looks like Steve Harvey. Got a good one for you today. Oh, yes. Love it. Now, you sent this, Leslie.
This is a woman in the UK. Hang on, let's get the deets on this. She's from Manchester, England, and she was stunned to discover the likeness of Freddie Mercury on a wall tile in her bathroom. She says that she doesn't say, but she is getting a lot of traction on social media after posting these side-by-side photos of the visage on her bathroom wall and the late lead singer of Queen. I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing a similarity also between her tile and Jim Croce or even Frank Zappa.
Or the Phantom of the Opera.
Could be.
It doesn't count unless it's Jesus. Come on.
Well, and there is a word for this, and it's one of my favorite words. You know how you learn a word later in life? And this one is pareidolia. Pareidolia. And it's where the brain tries to interpret input by perceiving objects or patterns where they don't necessarily exist. Like the face on Mars. But
yeah. Okay, well, good for her.
I'm thinking Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
Well, and you've seen those pictures where they turn them upside down and the teeth are all wrong and the eyes are all wrong, but it looks right because our brains are programmed to look at the picture and see the normal face. Yeah.
Like Mr. Potato Head looks like Steve Harvey.
Well, there you go.
Well, having met Steve Harvey, I'd say that's pretty true. Yeah.
Okay. And what else?
This was a story from this week about Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah.
He was putting the husband got in trouble because he was putting them in X-rated positions with the Barbies. So they're there soaking in the sink like a hot tub with some booze behind it.
Yeah, Elf doing a tree way. Over by there. Hank has an elf, right?
He does. We don't go.
His is not like a narc. He's not a elf who just reports to Santa, right?
No, he does crazy stuff and tears the house up.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was a toilet that overflowed with foam.
Yes. Look at that.
Nice.
How does that happen?
I don't know. It was in I think the story said it was all over her house. I mean,
I'd say on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, just for
photo
likes
op.
on TikTok. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I see Freddie Mercury in the foam. Okay. And a listener sent this, and initially, initially she said, "I think this is real." Then she went, "Oh, it's not. It's not. You can't find this."
No.
So.
And then this was a late ad that you and I sent to you.
This?
Alice Cooper babysitting Mickey Dolen's daughter.
Dolen's from the Monkees.
Yes.
And how many things? It's one of those things. Point out the 10 things that are wrong with this picture, and I think we can see all 10. Can't you? Hey, Alice, can you babysit my 8-year-old daughter? You can sit by the pool with her.
What's the daughter drinking there? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even notice that before. Yeah. What's
that? Like a Sprite, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. The whole thing is bizarre. Okay. All right.
That's all I have. I do have a recorded report this week.
Oh, you do? Let's hear it.
It's Wisconsin, yeah, hey.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Wisconsin. A little finger gun action here. Here in Wisconsin, we're getting ready for the holidays, which means there will be lots of relatives coming over and lots of drinking. Before the drinking and the holidays can get started, Marquette University students celebrated Taylor Swift's birthday. It was on the 13th of December, which was yesterday. They had a study break, and you might think, what's a study break? Well, before finals, there's a day some places call Reading Day, where you can study and get ready for your finals. Instead, they had a Taylor Swift-themed birthday party. Cake, music, dancing, making bracelets. This is the 3rd year in a row they've done it. So Taylor Swift continues to be everywhere. Here in Wisconsin, our favorite Christmas movie is Home Alone. It beat out some of the classics like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, The Christmas Story, Elf. There was a survey around the United States, and I saw the statistics for Wisconsin, and Home Alone beat them by a lot of margin compared to the other movies. So if you're looking for something to do, come to Wisconsin. We can drink a lot and watch Home Alone. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll all talk soon.
You know how I like to point out when DJs tell you how close we are to the weekend? We're 5 days away.
Yeah.
Here's a new one. You're not going to believe this. Yesterday, I'm listening to Satellite, and the guy goes, "It's December 14th. We're 2 months away from Valentine's Day." Wow. Okay. All right. Maybe they're
Christmas
listening.
and New Year.
Yeah. How about that? Hey, man, we're 2 months away from Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Outside.
Sponsor then. Wow.
Oh, God. Really? You can't make this stuff up?
No.
All right. Leslie, you want to do stories or do you want to save them or you pick?
You will. Okay, let's do one that we teased earlier on the pre-show, and that's the people in Idaho this week stood in line for hours, some even camping out overnight in order to be the first to dine at a new In-N-Out burger, the first in the state of Idaho. Opening day saw people queued up for up to 8 hours to place their orders at the drive-up window at the restaurant in Meridian. This In-N-Out expects to employ around 80 people at a starting salary of $17.50 an hour. 2 other Idaho locations are already in the works.
I have a feeling I'm going to see that on David Muir at some point, that story.
It probably already ran.
Yeah. Why do you wait in line? They're going to be open tomorrow, day after, next month, and you're standing in line.
And when Orlando's first White Castle opened in 50 years, about a year and a half ago, they were waiting 6 hours. So In-N-Out Burger wins. But I looked at that and said, no, thank you.
Really?
Yeah.
Ellen, you're going to get soaked this weekend, right? Tom alluded to that.
The forecast looks pretty rough for the area, although the last time I looked at the forecast, they were saying heaviest stuff at the coast. So being inland helps.
All right. As I say, stay safe. All right. We're ready to give something away.
Thunder roars. Stay indoors.
And in Florida, that's pretty much all the time because it's always thundering and lightning.
Well, it's certainly from July till October. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Are we ready to give away all of that stuff?
Oh, and there's some cool stuff this week for sure.
All right.
A pile of poo. It's a wacky pile of poo, you guys.
Here we go. Here we go. We have music.
Oh, yeah, sure. Here, wait.
Yeah.
Let's see. That would be this button here. There we go.
All right. Here we go. Here we go. Are we still going? No, we're still going.
Philip.
All right, Ellen, tell Philip what to do.
Philip, send your mailing address to Leslie, courtesy the Garry Meier Show. I'm sorry, without the. Garry Meier Show at GarryMeier.com or text 773-888-2157. Regular charges apply, and Leslie will put that stuff in the mail to you.
Yes.
And once again, last week's winner did not come forward. So
I don't think they have. I'll check my email again. Maybe they did and I missed it, but just in case. Yes.
Yeah, it's still waiting for you.
All right, let's pull out the cannoli. It's delicious. Here it is. Take it. It's complimentary. Yeah, look at it. Nice. And what about the schnauzer this weekend?
Wouldn't it be really fun to just plant your schnauzer on a beach in Hawaii with Tom Skilling?
As she strokes the cat's tail. Yes. Yes. Yeah. All right. Have a great weekend. Back on Monday, 3 in the green and red. It is the GarrForce. The flaps are down. The wheels are down. America's podcast. The voice of the globe has landed.
And that's it for all the news and nonsense here at the GarrForce.
If you like that, I got other stuff I think you're going to like. This is the GarrForce.
Thanks for streaming. Like, subscribe, and be kind. But no need to rewind. It sure would be terrific if you subscribe to the GarrForce Live YouTube channel.
More eyeballs.
If you are watching this show recorded, that button is right here. And if you'd like to look at past episodes, try that button.
Boom. Shakalaka.
That's it.
Oh, I guess I'm alone again. All right. How do you shut this thing off?